Nico.
Louder?
Nico.
Okay, so we got Nico out on a flat area in a flat piece of ground out in front of the building, and we're basically going to have him stand there and kind of move across the skinny part of the board or the middle of the board, using a little bit of rocking motion back and forth with his toes and his heels. So he pushes his knees over toes, and that kind of sets him down on the toe edge, which is the downhill edge, and he tips back a little bit there. Now he's on a Riglet Burton board, which comes with a little lanyard out the front, which is kind of handy, because I can now pull him along as if he was a pull toy. So all he's going to do while we're kind of moving along there is kind of rock back and forth with over the top of his ankles with his knees, and there's a little bit of movement. You can see the board kind of drifts to the right, pulls to the left and stuff, and kind of moving across. The main thing here is that we want him to look where he's going and kind of do a little action there down on top of the board. So we move him across the slope on a very gentle side. Nobody there. In a minute here, we'll pull him a little bit around from the toe of the board, which is right there. And I believe I will have him with the other foot in the front here in just a minute. So we're going to let him turn a little bit, and there's the back of the board. So we talk about the board kind of gets turned, and it's not the lead foot anymore. But when we're 6 and under, do we really care? Nah. So we want him to continue that rocking. You can see that development right there with the knees, ankles, and hips a little bit. And we can do the same movement, even though it's not the lead foot on the board. It's not important that you get into all the technical aspects with the children of what's happening, but what is happening? What can I do? So he's kind of wiggling along there and moving along. Main thing again is to get him to turn that head without turning the shoulders, staying aligned to the snowboard. I'm now going to pull him around a little bit, and he hooked his heel a little bit. So I'm going to pull him by the nose of the board, ask him to be very gentle until he can see downhill again, which will allow him to follow that board downhill. This happens a lot. Don't make it a big deal. But in fact, he did just basically do a heel side turn there. He's riding with the right foot in the front, and there it shifted again, and he's looking. He's going to slide a little bit longer than he should, and I could have stopped him, but I didn't, and so I'll stop the clip. As we follow along here, we can kind of see I've got Nico on a facing down the mountain a little bit more, standing on his heel side of his board, trying to get him to set back. And when you say set back to the child, they're usually going to lean back towards their back foot and straighten their front leg out. When we say set back, we mean towards the butt, so that the feet are out in front of the board more, letting it slip, and trying to hold that heel edge, which is a bit difficult on the Burton board because it has a 2.5 roll up on the edges and doesn't actually engage a lot of edge, either heel or toe. So you're going to have to deal with that and kind of be in front of them to block that slip. One of the biggest fears that new riders have, no matter what age they are, is falling backwards. So here I have Nico actually standing up, squatting down without putting the hands back, putting his butt down, to get used to the fact that falling back behind the board does not hurt, because this is the only way we'll get him on the heel edge to put the brakes on. So I'm actually pulling him up a little bit there, and in the beginning of this clip I also had him standing on my toes so that he felt that little bit more rise. Here I have him scooting along on the ground with his butt low, so the board is slipping. There's no fall there because he's already been back there, so he's more familiar with that now. And he's just sliding along and pushing his belly button towards me. He pulls his knees back, which lifts his toes, and he knows that because we practiced that up with our hands on the board when we were up on the sun deck there. So he's now relating that pullback of the legs to lift the toes. Again, though, it is difficult with these little boards. They're not really edge appropriate. But I like he's squatting down there. He can get really low. He'll get a lot lower than you and I ever will. And here I'm trying to get him to lean back with his shoulders a little. But I don't mind, because if he can squat down like this and then put his butt on the ground, that's a good safe stop for him. And we're trying to just get that board across the fall line to a point where setting back, squatting is going to make it happen. So get him practicing that. Notice that I'm down the downhill side. So he's blocked. He can't get away from me. When he stands up and takes a good full-size stance, we'll be looking at his posture. One of the things little guys do, and you'll see when he stands up, is he tends to stand up and push his knees over the toes. And he said that a lot. He goes, I don't have to have my knees over my toes. Yeah, when I'm trying to go to the toe side, I do want my knees over the toes. But when I'm trying to go on the heels, I do not want that. It's a good deal to be on the heel. Put down your toes, you're going on your nose. So I hope you guys will stay with us and follow this training we're doing with the little guys.